Hi there, it's Michelle Patterson with the Real Share Daily Huddle. And I'm meeting a new friend, and right away I can tell because she was referred over by my dear friend Sharon Lechter and said, Michelle, I can't be on the show right at top of the hour, but I have somebody who can that you are going to be so happy that you met. So her name is Angel Tuccy, and she's got a remarkable genius that all of you are going to want to hear about. And it has to do with really getting our geniuses out there and marketing our geniuses. So she does break through the marketing ceiling. And I want to go through. So she talks about many entrepreneurs struggle with marketing and getting more customers to find them. Angel, best-selling author of ABCs of Exposure, teaches how to use traditional media to break through the marketing ceiling. Being interviewed on the radio, podcast, and TV opens new doors of opportunity for business. A lot of times too, we're nervous about this because we feel like it's in the unreachable category, to be able to get on and to be on TV and to do live streaming, and because we don't have a formalized training background. And I think that's where we'll start, is that's so not the case.
Well, first of all, thank you, Michelle, for allowing me to fill in for the great Sharon Lechter. I'm super excited and honored that she felt I would be an adequate replacement with her today. I am thrilled to be a guest on your show. And you are right. People, when they think about radio and television, it is this huge, it is this huge mile marker, this huge, I don't know. It is a great accomplishment. I mean, truly, if you are a guest on somebody else's platform, on somebody else's stage, right, you're in that coveted spot, that exclusive spot, being interviewed, in front of their audience. It is a big deal. Not everybody gets to be in that spot. The getting there isn't as hard as it might sound and as it might look, but it truly is. I never want to undervalue how precious it is to be invited to be in front of somebody else's audience. I think that is probably one of the highest recommendations and endorsements that somebody can ever receive.
Well, and going back, I mean, we talked about this briefly with the California Women's Conference. We had 18,000 people submit to being a speaker of the event.
Wow, that's awesome. How many did you choose?
And 200.
Oh, wow.
And that would include the, Ariana Huffingtons and the Dalai Lamas. I mean, that didn't include those individuals. That included individuals that felt like, I have a message to share. I have a story to share. And I can, in delivering my message, I can help people. Mm-hmm. And that's where I really want to acknowledge, is just folks that are out there where their passion far exceeds any type of fear that they would have. I mean, so much so that they just want to be able to share the insight that they have. And so when you have that passion, it really, really resonates with individuals. I mean, you could see it where they don't care about how they're coming across as much as making sure that they share that gift, that genius that they have.
Well, I think that's what trumps fear, right? They talk a lot about how public speaking is, one of those greatest fears. And anytime you speak to somebody and you ask them, how did you overcome that stage fright? How did you get past your fear and stand up in front of an audience and be willing to share? And most of them will tell you that I realized it's not about me, right? I have a message that needs to be shared. Like, I will make an impact on this audience. They need this message. And so when you stop, thinking, okay, am I perfect? Do I have it all figured out? Right? It's not about me. It's about the audience. A lot of speakers will tell you that's how they got past the stage fright.
I love that you're bringing that up, Angel, because last night my daughter and I were having a conversation, and she just got done speaking on a Zoom call to 1,000 people.
Wow.
And sharing her story. And she got done and she's like, Mom, how do you get through it without over critiquing yourself? And I think a lot of times we're hard on ourselves. We're our biggest critic. And I told her, I said, Jacqueline, I used to do that all the time, where I would get done, I'd come off a stage and I would critique myself and just really, woulda, coulda, shoulda, I should have done this. And I got to a point where I stopped doing that because it wasn't bringing me joy. It was actually bringing me a lot of just anxiety.
Oh, sure, sure. Right. I heard once that there's 3 talks that public speakers give. The one they rehearse, which is pretty good. The one you give on stage, and then the amazing one you give in the car on the way home, right? Because it's like, oh, right, I could have said this, I should have said that, now that I'm all primed. And it's true that afterwards we are our worst critic. And the only way we are going to get through that and get ourselves back on stage again is just remind ourselves only Mary Poppins was practically perfect in every way. We do not have to be. And it's in our authenticity and being real, being raw, being vulnerable that the audience is really more connected to than being all perfect and polished and being up high on that pedestal. So it's okay. Like, what if you mess up? So what? Right? What if you don't exactly? So what? This is why we practice. This is why we prepare. And sometimes I'll get on stage and something will be coming out of my mouth. I tell my husband, I'm like, I have no idea. That wasn't in any rehearsals. That wasn't in any practice. That wasn't planned. But every single time somebody will come up to me afterwards and say, Angel, you said this and it spoke to me. I'm like, well, then that's who it was for, because it wasn't in my rehearsal at all. It was for you.
I love that. And what would you say to individuals where they're sharing their story and it's painful? I mean, they're going through a really a time in their life where they face adversity and they had to get out on the other side, and they're still emotional, and they get up and they can't get through it without breaking down.
So, there's probably a couple schools of thought on this, Michelle. One, like if you're going to stand up and share your story with an audience, I think it's probably one of the most beautiful ways that we can serve. Like, one of the grandest ways we can serve, right, is sharing our story and our vulnerability. But if you can't get through it yet, I almost think like it's like a location, like where I've been, where I'm at, where I'm going. I've had, like, this was what I went through, but I had my breakthrough, and now this is where I'm going. If you aren't on the other side of it yet, I almost think it's probably not ready for you to get on a really big stage and share that, because are you ready to absorb all the stories and everybody else that is going through it? Because they're going to come up to you, right? And they're looking for you getting to the other side, right? They want to know you got to the other side. And so don't feel like you have to be in a rush to go out and share your story. If you're still going through it, you're still working through it, work with a coach, work with somebody that's going to help you with that. And when the timing is right and you are on the other side, then share it in that bigger venue. Because especially like for me, I do a lot of speak to sell, like they're selling a program at the back, they're selling something. And and if you're still in that space and you haven't overcome it, it's not necessarily ready for the audience to buy from it. Does that make sense? Did I phrase that all right?
Oh, I think you said it beautifully. And I love the word that you use, it's absorb. If you're not ready to absorb this, because it is, you come off of stage and it's, you're bombarded because everybody wants to really receive that training of how you navigated through it. Yes. Which, by the way, okay, one of my superheroes who's on,
mine too,
I absolutely love. And Sharon, you were absolutely right. Angel's amazing.
She's fantastic.
So, and you, my dear, we started off, I was sharing with Angel, we were offline before we got on. I said, what the thing that I love about Sharon Lechter the most is that she's a true friend. She's the same way when the cameras are going as when the cameras aren't going. And I was telling Angel about when I had called you, my very, very first California Women's Conference, and 17 days before the big event, I was notified by the sponsorship company that they were not going to come in with 7 million, is what they had targeted and planned for. the total amount, and they were going out of business, the total amount was $100,000. So I was $1.8 million in a deficit 17 days before my conference. And Sharon was up there with one of my first calls that I reached out, and if you can imagine, I was really not doing well.
I was going to say flipping out, panicking, freaking out, the ugly cry.
The fetal position where you're rocking. I was all of the above. And I'll remember this. I remember exactly where I was sitting, and Sharon, you talked to me and you just said, you know what, just breathe through it. And, together, we'll be able to do this. And let's really talk about the facts and not let our imagination get away from us, but really let's talk about what we've got as resources, where we're at right now. And once we can figure out where the bottom is at, then we could start building. And that's what we did. I ended up raising 1.65 million going into the conference. And you see me, there's a video, which I totally want to pull up, but you have me where my eyes are watering, and because I'm still raising money at the event. And I look back on that because it was one of those moments where I just learned about what it really means, to have a sister in your corner and working with you. And from that moment on, Sharon was, who I looked to, as this role model. And I was able to look to her for the same, but also now as a friend that I can just cry to and just be like, you know what, things are pretty messed up right now. And she didn't make me feel like I, was anything less than, or, because
It's not her style.
It's not her style.
No.
So Sharon Lechter, how are you?
I'm good, but I'm just going to sit back. I want you guys to keep talking about me.
It's easy to do. I mean, we can go on, and I've got your bio in front of me, and pretty much I could read the bio and then we would be done with the show because it's
that long,
that extensive. Yeah, you've done so many great things. But again, the thing that I love about your genius is that you share your gift, but you do it in such a way that is showing up in total love. And, just zero judgment, no stigma, no fear tactics. Andrea, you talked about this early on, and that is, people are looking about how to sell their products and really, really, really share, what it is that they're putting together for programming. And that's what I've always loved about the folks that I have had on my wellness team family, is that they don't use fear tactics at all as a resort.
Right. It's not necessary, right? Yes.
Well, if it's wellness, fear just lowers your immune system. So fear is something that is pervasive in our society, particularly the last few months. And it does one of two things. It paralyzes you or motivates you. And most of us are paralyzed by fear. We want to get under the covers and hide away, just like you talked about, get in the fetal position. But the few of us that have learned how to take fear and let it motivate us can turn that fear into focus. And that's what we went through together, Michelle, because you got to focus, say, okay, that happened. Now what? And when they've turned that fear into energy to keep moving and find a new path.
And one thing that I learned from you doing that process is that it's okay to not have all the answers. It's okay to ask, for the support and ask for the help. And I remember, literally dialing for dollars and asking. And the folks that showed up were some of the folks that I thought I would never even think of asking. And then they were the ones that came in and, wrote a check for, $100K or, put down sponsorship dollars. And that's what I learned during that process is do not let your own judgment and fears come into making a decision of what that next step should look like, because your own limiting beliefs.
Well, it's so true. We wear blinders and we make assumptions about what other people believe or think. And sometimes the people you least expect are the ones that step up first to support you.
And how do you feel like things are shifting? Because I'm a complete optimist. And I can tell in just talking with Angel, I mean, I think all of us share that same quality. And that is just being this complete optimist of, yes, we can focus on the negatives, but let's focus on what's positive and what's happening that's right. And what do you feel in going through this process with COVID-19? I mean, what are the things that you feel, Sharon, are really working for us in going through this?
Well, I think even before this happened, we had a lot of pervasiveness of the fear of criticism. People were comparing themselves, and it was more of it wasn't a spiritual level, it was a materialistic level. And what happened in the last few months, it brought us all back to our knees, basically. And we will look at the fear of death, right? Ill health, the fear of financial collapse, and the fear of isolation, the trifecta of fear. And so it was like a moment in time when it was like, okay, this is real. And it's a total, like you have a complete blank chalkboard. Whatever wasn't working for you in the past, let it go. Whoever wasn't positive and supporting you in the past, let them go. And you have an opportunity to redesign your life the way you want it. And nobody's going to criticize because we're all doing the same thing. So you don't have to worry about somebody looking at you thinking you're crazy. It's time for you to take control of your own life and know that you have every opportunity. And the most successful companies around us started during the Great Depression. So this is the time where there's been such a pressure cooker that there's a lot of needs and a lot of problems. And that's how you become a successful company. You solve a problem or serve a need. And so now is a time to train yourself during this time to start recognizing those opportunities. Surround yourself with people who are driving, that are looking and can and encourage you and maybe push you out of your comfort zone a little bit to get you to make those decisions that are going to move you forward instead of keeping you back.
And I think along those same side is just surround yourself with people who lift you up. And that doesn't mean surround yourself with people that are going to say yes to your every idea, but it's individuals that are going to be there, and it's the constructive feedback. I mean, you, in that conversation that I had, it was back in 2011, you could have completely just shattered, my every thought. And instead I got off that phone and I felt so empowered, and I felt like, you know what, I absolutely can do this. And so much so that I had said to you, it's, you know what, the show will go on. I am definitely going to do this, even if I'm on the doorstep, with a megaphone, bullhorn, I'm going to do this event. We're going to absolutely do this. And just having you, really, really being part of that whole process. And for me to come to the table with really an army of individuals that said, we're absolutely going to do this. It's not going to get shut down by the governor's office. We will be able to continue this on. And we did. And it was absolutely amazing. And it taught me too, is that we oftentimes think that we need to go through this alone and by ourselves. And we absolutely don't need to. In fact, we're not meant to.
Well, I think you also, at the time, if I remember, am I surrounding myself with people who want me to succeed and are there to support me and challenge me at times to get to where you want to be? I mean, that's the reason why I asked Angel to step in here, is that she brought together a group of gals that came to me and said, you're not out there enough. We want to get you back out there. And, and it was, okay, let's listen. And they came, and that's what this event that we're doing tomorrow, AssetsareSexy.com, came around because they believed in me, probably even more than I believed in myself. So.
And it's so interesting. And I love that about you too, is just being vulnerable and candid. I mean, you and I have had conversations about our families. And I mean, I think there's a few times where both of us are on the phone and just in crying, and being okay with that. And again, not feeling this need to fill in the blanks and have the answers, but just being okay with being okay. I love that.
Michelle, one of the things though is that Sharon has so many of the answers that we as women in business are asking and are looking for right now. She has led the way. She's written the book. She's been on the stages. She's had the experience. She's walked the walk. When you look at how most of the stages right now are filled with men on the podium, and yet in the audience, it's the majority in the audience are women. And when you look at who is that woman that is leading the charge, who's been award winning, who has shared the stages with, there are not a lot of women in that space. And what Sharon Lechter represents for women in business, and especially right now, as she pivoted during this COVID time, we were going to have this event. We were hoping to have it as a live signature event, this VIP event at Sharon's home. We had this whole grand idea planned. And then, of course, the world shut down. But Sharon didn't even miss a beat. She did not slow down. She didn't even miss a beat. She says, we are going on. We are going forward, and we will just make it better. We will be the virtual event to beat, right? We will set the precedence for what virtual events are going to be going forward. And tomorrow we kick it off. I mean, I think we are all, it's like our Christmas. It's Christmas Eve tonight where Santa's coming, right? Tomorrow morning we wake up to our gift, our present. And Sharon, you're our Santa Claus.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And think about it too, Angel. You started the comment off, Sharon, with saying, oftentimes we don't recognize the gifts that we're bringing to the table. And, we get going and it gets away from us in that we forget, our gifts and our strength. And so to have an organization that comes along and says, wait a minute, this is not only is this needed right now, I mean, we all need to start circling around and talking about what's working and absolutely. And you know what, life, none of us gets out of this life unscathed. And you and I have talked, I mean, we've had really, 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 really heartfelt conversations about dealing with, things with our family and things with our business. And because I think that we show up with so much passion, for us, work is our play. And it really, I mean, we would be doing this. And, for me, the last year I've been doing this literally because I love it. I want others to see, this is who I lean into, when given a diagnosis of stage 4 breast cancer and being told I had 90 days to live. It was like, okay, wait a minute. Like, they don't know me. They don't know that I was in Sharon Lechter's Think and Grow Rich for Women, and I was chapter 8 for perseverance. And I've got an army. And I think that's what you're referring to, Angel, too, is that's what's so awesome about this time and space is that we get to collectively come together with our geniuses and apply those geniuses and truly create something magical. And
we are definitely creating something magical. And we have so much opportunity right now as the world shifted back and wasn't traveling, they're not commuting, got really comfortable with being on camera, with Zooms and technology. People who never wanted to participate or, weren't comfortable with it have been forced to learn how to be comfortable with it. And the fact that we had Assets Are Sexy on the calendar for May 15th. We've had it on the calendar since last year that we knew it was coming and did not know that it was going to be that everybody would be sitting at home. There would be this economic crisis in most people's minds, right? The world is telling them the sky is falling. And here comes Sharon Lechter saying, I'm putting together this signature event. I've got the pillars that you need to create a successful business. We're going to change the statistics from 1.7% of women-owned businesses being millionaires to 17% and then 170%, right? We're going to blow the roof on it. But she was poised and positioned. And it was truly, I mean, it was just truly providential that we all came together when we did. None of us could have predicted where we're at right now, but with preparation and this team and the optimism and really a testament to Sharon being open to listening to, a little media gal from Denver saying, I think you could use some more exposure. Really, the fact that she listened to me and took that meeting, I still pinch myself today. And so thank you, Sharon, for believing in me.
I'll go back and I remember that first initial meeting because it's like Sharon Lechter. I mean, there's this feeling of like, wow, like, am I going to be able to, even talk to her?
Sharon, I don't know that she would think this of herself, but you are our Oprah, right? When there are so many people that are out there, like, where would I always ask when I, if you could be interviewed by anybody, you'd be on TV, right? Where do you want to be? Oprah, right? It's always somebody in the audience always says Oprah. But Sharon Lechter, you are the Oprah to so many women in business, and they know that. And the fact that you are making yourself so accessible at this Assets Are Sexy event tomorrow is we are just going to sing your praises, and we are just going to rally, and we're just going to come together and do something really special.
I cannot wait. I'm so excited about it.
Well, it's going to be a fabulous day, but it's proof positive that women coming together can truly rise. And we've got six generations. All right. We've got a 12-year-old and we've got a 70-something-year-old, and every decade is represented in what we're doing. And I've got two women who've built billion-dollar businesses. One woman, a third one, Rita Davenport, who took Arbonne to $1 billion. Judy Shepard-Massett, the founder of Jazzercise, is a dear friend of mine. She started from the love of dance and created a $1 billion company and created an opportunity for 8,500 other women business owners through her organization. Phyllis Newhouse, the retired military with some expertise in cybersecurity, started Extreme Solutions and is now over $100 million in revenue a year, $1 billion valuation. She was Ernst & Young's first female Entrepreneur of the Year in tech, and she's an incredible powerhouse, and she's going to be there tomorrow. She started a foundation called Shoulder Up about women helping younger women, and she's bringing an incredible new talent that's going to be singing for us in the afternoon. And then I have this young girl, Roosevelt Rawls, who's going to be singing at 12:30, Rise Up, and she actually started a national fundraiser to fight against child abuse. It's just amazing what the talent that we're coming together. And then Rita's going to kick us off for a virtual happy hour. Danelle Delgado is kicking off the morning with her high energy, go get 'em attitude. And then Forbes Riley, who sold up to $1 billion worth of stuff through QVC. Can't think of who I'm from. Oh, I don't know who I'm forgetting. But and sales, I have Lisa Copeland as well as Kendrick Shope, two superstars in the area of sales, and women empowering women. And they're all giving of their time and their expertise and their talent to inspire all of us to find that one thing that we can do to take us to the next level.
And don't you feel like it's starting to happen too, where you could see it in the just on how we're working collectively together? I shared this with you. My business partner and I created a company called My Jane, and then we sold it in 5 months. And it's now getting ready to IPO, and we've got just a whole bunch of really, really cool stuff. But it was because we came together. I was able to stay in my wheelhouse and focus on what I love and being that connector and promoting, what we were doing. And that was providing cannabis, in the form of, a remedy for sleep, pain, stress, anxiety to women. I had so many people that were coming wanting to exhibit and provide these healthy options. And so my business partner, her last raise was $100 million. Kim Kovacs, she has done really what's the 2% that women funded businesses have been able to get in VC money. And so we were able to go ahead and put this together and really have just miraculous results. Had I done it by myself, it would have been lonely, I would not have been able to stay in my lane because I would have been having to do what I usually done, which feeling like I'm doing everything and taking it all on. And in this case, I was able to really have her focus, which she loves, a good spreadsheet and raising the capital. And then we went in and we were this dynamic duo coming together. And so I learned very quickly, it's, in doing this next go around, it's let's bring the individuals that focus on what we refer to and did this work with Gallup poll, but the 5 to thrive. It was in career, physical, financial, social, and community. And what Gallup poll came back and said that individuals that are doing all 5 of those areas and they're focused and they've got a plan in each one of those areas, they're the happiest people on the planet. And that represents only 7% of the planet. And I found this to be the case in going through this diagnosis. And that was when I wasn't addressing my financial challenges, or now that I refer to as opportunities, when I wasn't addressing that, I wasn't able to bring in 100% joy into my life. And now getting real with that situation, I'm able to not only address those issues, but I was able to create this team of individuals to show up. I did it with my doctors. And Sharon, you had a chance at Love Fest to meet some of your co-wellness team family members that are geniuses in their particular area. But what I found was that you've got individuals that are stepping in and they're these amazing scientists, but when it comes to marketing, that's not their area of expertise, or when it came to their finances. And so what we've done is started bringing these experts together and saying, you know what, I'm really, really, really good at this, but this is where I struggle, and this is where I have questions, and tell me about your genius and how I can be that spoke of the wheel and come together. And that's the real share. I mean, we're truly crowdsourcing miracles as a result of that. And so I love, like I said, how you lead with collaboration, because I have found that there are a lot of women that I surround myself with. That's how they operate. And if they don't, there's women like yourself that know how to play this game, and they know how to play it in such a way where everybody rises. Everybody accomplishes and rise up. Nada, it's Nada who's there. It was so great. I got this little note and she says, because of the California Women's Conference and because of me being able to tap into these resources, I started Rise Up. And I ended up being a speaker for her when the year that her mom passed away. And it was the first year that she did her conference. And it was because, and I thought, that's how I want to play. That's how Sharon Lechter wants to play. That's how Angel wants to play. It's individuals that we're actually really excited to share in each other's experiences and share our gifts and our genius and our toys. It's once you start experiencing that, you don't want to not do it. You want to absolutely.
You can't stop, right? You can't stop, right? You can't stop a moving train. It might take a little bit to get the motive, the momentum going. And that's where reaching out to each other. And sometimes we almost have to hold on to somebody else's caboose, right? And let them pull us along until we can get our, I don't know where that analogy came from. I'm like talking trains.
Because again, I think it's making it's okay. It's women, and this is what I found, is we don't want to hand out. We just want a helping hand. And to me, I mean, I'll give an example. Shannon McKay. I met her when I was in Mexico looking for treatments. I was at a Dr. Joe Dispenza meditation event, and I ended up meeting this woman who has this amazing marketing team that puts websites together. And I shared with her my passion, and she shared with me her passion, which is putting together these websites, and we were able to come together. And I think it goes along the same lines with what you're doing, Angel, is that you're recognizing, hey, my part in playing in this is let's provide access to all these resources that are out there, because we as women and men, we just need a little help. We don't want you to do it for us. We don't want you to, take away, but we don't need to have the struggle that I think that all of us are sometimes looking at, saying we get a choice. Do we show up in fear or do we show up in love?
Mm-hmm. Well, and Sharon, you talk about that, right? Outwitting the Devil. I've been rereading Outwitting the Devil, getting ready for this week, and just, as if I'm not absorbing enough Sharon in my life, but just a little bit more is always good. But talking about that fear that we tend to hold ourselves back when we do have access to these resources, access to these incredible mentors, and really none of us has to do it alone and struggle. We make that up. We make that up in our head. And here's a prime example of being able to reach out to Sharon and seeing how many lives that she's touched. And even through, as we've been watching these speakers, all of these women that are coming together as speakers on her stage, it just took a phone call from Sharon. I'm putting this together. And they came out of the woodwork saying, absolutely. What are you doing, Sharon? You've poured into us. We want to support you 100%. And that's been beautiful. That's just been beautiful to see.
Well, and the cool thing is, Angel, is that sometimes it's not even a phone call. I mean, literally, like Sharon and I mean, we've been catching up on these podcasts, but we literally are, I'm texting her saying, hey, there's this really incredible organization that needs your support. And right away, she's like, sign me up. How can I be of service? How can I help out? And then vice versa. And you get to a point where you start running with this group of women. I mean, I run with the same women, the Forbes Rileys, and, that just, it's just, this is how we roll. This is what we do. And we had individuals do it for us. For me, Sharon Lechter, I mean, like I said, she could have really, really painted just this horrible outlook. And instead it was the opposite. I got off that call and I was like, you know what? We're doing this. Let's go for it. Let's make it happen. And I think too, oftentimes it's so easy just to fall prey to listening to individuals that maybe haven't experienced it. And that's what I love about Sharon and the folks that you surround yourself with, is they're speaking from firsthand experience. And that's how they got through it. And so all they want is to be able to say, hey, you know what? I went through something similar and it was tough, but it's doable. And you know what? Just lean into it and know that we can help each other and we can support each other.
So I heard a comment a couple of weeks ago, and I've been using it almost every day. It says, smart people learn from their mistakes, which is a good thing. You want to learn from your mistakes, but geniuses learn from other people's mistakes. And I think that it's really important to have that mentorship and to seek that mentorship, because I just as soon you learn from my mistakes so you don't have to repeat them. And, that's the value of mentoring is, there's a difference between a coach and a mentor. A coach is somebody that's kind of pushing you on a predetermined plan. They haven't necessarily been there, done that and what you want to do, but a mentor truly has created success in the area you want to be. And so they bring a lot of value to the table because they know what hasn't worked. And so they can help you prevent making the same mistakes, but they can also speed your way to success by making those introductions and opening those doors to the powerful associations that can help take you to the next level. A lot of it is understanding the facts are in. If you have a mentor, you will be more profitable than if you don't, because you have the value of their experience, education, and guidance.
Well, and that's what the real share for me has been, is going in, having the diagnosis, having that flight and fright mentality and saying, okay, how can I create a safe environment for myself right now so that I can make strategic decisions, not based out of fear, but truly based out of this mentorship. And I had done some work, and I know you have as well, is Women on Boards 2020, with Betsy. And I thought, you know what, we need to have a foundation, this safety net, this structure of really having people to go to. And it took me 9 months to put together my team of doctors. And I figured out very, very quickly that the days of having a doctor is over. It's really a team approach. And why can't we create a team of advisors, trusted advisors that are not going to tell us what we want to hear. They're not going to inflate their ego. They're going to tell us, yeah, I made some decisions and this is what I would have done differently. This is what I would have done the same. Stop beating yourself up. And I love that comment. Geniuses learn from others' mistakes, and really setting yourself up with this wellness team family. And so that if you do have a WTF moment, you're able to lean into this family that you pulled together. And I'm honored to have you part of that group. We have a conversation that's going to be happening every week, and we're talking about money specifically, because so often, and really women, we do not step into owning the fact that we're 93% of the consumer in the wellness space. Nothing gets through my house unless it goes through me, when it comes to doctor's appointments, when it comes to the dentist, when it comes to what they're taking. And so I started realizing, it's like, wait a minute, I can set up this wellness team family, this trusted group of advisors. I can do that not only for my wellness, but I can also do it for financial, career, physical, my social. And you start putting this together and you bring in individuals that all they want to do is support you. And so what we've been doing at The Real Share is an extension from the California Women's Conference and providing access. And so that way, individuals, especially now, we are not held hostage to our direct, community within driving distance. The entire planet opened up for us to have access. And that's what's happening. We had over 200 countries that were represented. We had 4,000 people show up to Love Fest 2020. It started out, I was like, okay, I'm going to do a 50th birthday. My last big 40th was 30,000 people. And I thought, you know what, I'm going to do it differently. So I literally, Sharon, started doing this entire online Zoom call. I reached out to Zoom and said, I want to do a global event similar to what we did with International Women's Day. And I want to go ahead and house this and do it as a virtual online. This was back in January, before there was any talk about the virus or anything. So when you said earlier, Angel, about bringing folks together and how this was a topic that was a year ago and had already been on the calendar, that so resonates with me, because I feel like we're all being called in to working collectively together and not struggling. There's no need for the struggle anymore. If we choose to do the struggle, it's there. But
and there are people, right? We all know those that thrive on the struggle, and a little bit of struggle and a little bit of stress is probably okay. Like, find out what grit we have, like what we're willing to stand up for. But also, and I think this Assets Are Sexy event and what you put together, right? When you see how people have come together to support, to collaborate, that there are more people that are willing to help than you even realize. And
it's a celebration of what's possible, not, it's cup is half full, not half empty. And we just need more of that in the world, is to say, how can I take what I already have and make it better, serve more people, and therefore the better you do, the more people you can serve. So there's nothing wrong with having a successful business. It helps you serve even more people. And we got to get rid of that scarcity thinking and replace it with abundance, and know that you don't have to do it alone. We've been talking about this whole program. It's doing it together and finding those people that can open doors for you, and that power of collaboration, and making sure that you're focusing on your strengths, and you bring somebody on your team who's got your weaknesses covered, just like you talked about, you and your business partner. So it's something that's so important. And women tend to hesitate they feel like they have to do it on their own. And that's what we have to change, and know that when you surround yourself with people that support you and want you to succeed, your self-confidence will increase as well.
And I feel like the competitiveness goes out the window. At least, I mean, Kim used to say to me, she goes, I don't want to have that first argument, ever. And it's interesting. We never did. I mean, we never did, because we kept coming to the table and we would share our genius and share what our thought was. And we would work it through based on what was good for the entity and this collaborative model. And it was absolutely, it was refreshing, because she didn't come to the table trying to poke holes at, my genius or my skill set. It was just really coming to the table and saying, okay, let's put it all out there. And where are the holes? Where are we missing? Who do we need to go after to bring them in and be one of the spokes of the wheel, and then put this team together? And it was very much coming to the table of an abundance versus scarcity mindset. Mm-hmm. I love that. What do you think now, would you say, I think, Angel, you said it perfectly, is just being able to ask for the support, because so often individuals, they want to help, they want to get involved, but they haven't mustered up the courage to actually, put the phone call and ask, for that support. So I think that's definitely that first piece. But that next piece is, what do you feel like in pulling your vision together? And let's talk specifically about marketing, because I think that's where individuals have a hard time, because it feels so overwhelming. Is, I'm going to have to market this event, and what does this look like? But how do you approach it when you're looking at just the punch list, the checklist for marketing?
Well, it is exactly that. It's a punch list and a checklist, right? There's, should I do this or should I do this? The answer is yes, right? Be so visible that you cannot be ignored. And the secret to business is exposure, right? Exposure and revenue, the two things that we should be spending our time on every day. And most entrepreneurs spend their time, what I call an engagement, right? We've already got them in the funnel. They're already following us on social media. They're already, kind of in our, I call it in our castle. And we're not out focusing on brand new audiences and brand new exposure, what I call OPP, other people's platforms, and collaborating with other people. I know. I didn't even know that was a song. And then somebody had me listen to it, and I'm like, I'm never going to be able to say that again. But it is an important piece, creating exposure. Marketing is the art of starting a conversation, and it is a two-way dialogue. It is testing, tracking, and tweaking. It will never end. And so finding collaborative ways, innovative ways to keep your story fresh, freshening that up every quarter. And I think that's what Assets Are Sexy. Like, it took something that Sharon was already doing. People were already excited about who she is and what her brand represents. And we were able to put together, just rephrase it, repackage it in a way that met them where they were, today, where they're at now. So when it comes to putting your brand out there, the answer is just yes. Should I do this or should I do this? Do it all. None of it is wasted. Marketing is never wasted. There might be somebody that comes to you and says, I saw your post 2 years ago. I saw you speak there 2 years ago. I saw this 6 months ago. It's never wasted. But we've got to create that consistency, that we're top of mind, tip of tongue, always out in the marketplace, and just start those conversations every day, everywhere, and have something exciting to offer them.
I like that, though. Other people's platform. And again, it goes back to this mindset. When you think that you have to do it all yourself, it's exhausting.
Well, that's what keeps, I think that's a lot of what keeps entrepreneurs in that busy but broke space. Right? We're the busiest broke people on the planet, that they say, because we're building our business one-to-one, right? We're out there one-on-one marketing. We're going to leads groups. We're sending, exchanging business cards. We're doing, private messages, one-on-one, and we cannot scale our business fast enough. No matter how good we are, you cannot build your business one person at a time. You have to build it one to media. Create the exposure, get them in the castle, and then engage with them until they become consumers. But don't stay in that engagement space, because when you're talking to the same people over and over again, you start to feel defeated, right? It's the same message. You want to buy from me now? How about now, right? But when you get your brand and you get your story in front of a new audience, they think you're amazing. They haven't heard your jokes. They haven't heard your analogies yet. And they think you're incredible. They trust you because you're on the platform. They already like that host. They already like that show. That trust transfers over to you. And they are looking for guests, right? They're looking for fresh stories. They're looking for human interest stories. They're looking for fresh new content. And so it might as well be you.
I like that. It might as well be you. So let's look at the audience that I have are individuals that, have a business. They're an entrepreneur and they're trying to figure out how to balance all this stuff. And the feedback that I have for them is determine what is your lane, determine, so that you can stay in your lane. And then let's look at these other pieces. And so I would love for both of you, I know it in working with Sharon, but I would love for both of you to share, is this genius? I know that you have, we have this all access pass, individuals that are part of the Real Share. We're going to go ahead and post tomorrow's event, on there so that we can drive traffic over. The 4,000 that attended, that's the information that they want. They want to go ahead and have more of this and know that it's coming from trusted advisors, individuals who've been there, done that. So let's talk about your geniuses and how individuals that are listening in can have access to your gifts.
Well, the entire event tomorrow is, we have taken individual geniuses and placed them in the position of highest potential so that you can hear from people wanting to understand how to pick your niche and how to expand your niche. And then understanding how to use systems to grow your business, because it's not just having a successful business. You want it to be sustainable, scalable, and saleable. And that only happens by understanding having the business acumen to have the right people on your team. And we're going to talk about those foundational elements and how to do it. But we're also going to talk about, how to sell in today's world, how to sell to women, how to sell authentically, because too many people are not, they're using old sales techniques, and the world has changed. You need to be authentic in your sales, and selling to women is sometimes a little different than trying to sell to men. And you have to understand your market, understand the communication, but above all, being really in very high integrity in your brand and in your representation, and understanding that your reputation is everything today, and how to build that and how to continue moving it forward. And then also, sometimes we just get plain tired. So how do you have that perseverance to keep moving and to keep going, and have that determination, that focus, that's definiteness of purpose, as in Outwitting the Devil and Think and Grow Rich. What is your burning desire? And make sure you are fueling that, and instead of putting water on it, because you don't have the right tools, the right people around you. And then how do you recognize those opportunities that allow you to scale? And right now there's a lot of opportunities that are right in front of your face, but you haven't trained yourself to recognize them. And that's the power of having people who have been there, done that, and are continuing at a high level of performance and success, who now have the time to give back. So the information is there. It's free, because we have over 25 sponsors that are also going to share their wisdoms in panels throughout the day. But they stepped up to the plate, wrote a check to be there to support the event, so that the attendance could be free. So there's no price to attend the event. And I'm so excited that we have all of these people there, generosity of spirit, to get behind this messaging of understanding true financial independence. Financial freedom comes when the income from your assets exceeds your monthly expenses. So the focus needs to be on the asset, creating those assets and turning them into economic engines that will just continue to generate income and revenue for you, while you move on to create the next asset that becomes an engine. And you have unlimited income potential by doing that.
And I like that you talked about process too, Sharon. And I know that that's something that you're a huge advocate for is, and I've learned this from you, is once you set that process up, and you have that revenue stream, it continues. If you set up a really strong foundation for this process and you get the right people in the spot and you're operating out of integrity, I mean, it's amazing that structure that you can put together. Absolutely. So Angel, how about yourself?
I just love watching Sharon's eyes light up when she starts talking about assets. And look at her, like she knows this is the juicy thing that is going to change the world when we all fall in love with having assets. But first of all, we've got to learn what are assets, right? What is an asset? How do we get me one of those, right? How do I get an asset into my portfolio? And she just lights up because she knows what gold we are getting ready to tap into. And so tomorrow, like when we talk about positioning, and you said, that you help your clients focus on one thing, we say follow one course until successful. Position yourself as that expert, that genius in the space. And we don't have to be jack of all trades, right? We don't have to have everything and be everything to everybody. Pick your one genius and stay in that lane. Create the exposure, develop the assets, the intellectual assets, the marketing assets, the publicity assets, and leverage those out into the world so that people are talking about you. You're impacting hundreds, thousands, hundreds of thousands, even millions by leveraging media and publicity out into the world. I'm just so honored to be a part of this team because Sharon has covered all the bases. Everything that we need, no matter where we are, starting out all the way into that $1 million mark, and how to take that even further so that we can go and turn around and give back. Because we all remember when somebody gave us that helping hand, when somebody reached out who didn't make us feel stupid when we called them up and we were a hot mess. We all remember somebody doing that for us. And now we get to go and be that for that next generation, or just that next person.
A lot of people are afraid to ask for help. And I say, think of it as instead of asking for help, you're actually showing respect for someone, because you respect the fact that they know what you need to know. And so when you ask respectfully, you're actually, it's a compliment to them.
I love that way that sounds too, because that's exactly what it is. I mean, you're recognizing that individual is a thought leader in that space. They are a subject matter expert. And I have a really strong testimonial in that when I set up, the entity, the company that I ended up selling after 5 months, is I did a carve out. I made a point of going in and protecting my assets and saying, okay, I've got California Women's Conference. I've got Women Network. I have put together Dear Jane and The Real Share, and did a carve out and actually spelled that out in my contract. And that was from a conversation that you and I had, prior to that, and me saying, okay, I recognize that I am setting up this media, platform, and I don't want to have it lost because I am wanting to support and help another entity, but I didn't want to have it be where I sold that in the process, because that's, 25 years of hard work and growth and nurturing that. And so that was something that you said to me. And, back in the day that I learned in Think and Grow Rich for women. And then it was like, okay, Michelle, let's protect those assets when it came to marketing, when it came to the database, when it came to, all that is very, very valuable. And it was because of that conversation that I kept that in consideration and said, you know what, I need to make sure that I protect those assets. So absolutely. Well, that is going to be the theme of this. And Sharon, what I do, because I love to dance, is we leave each session with dancing, dancing out the door and celebrating that. And after this is over, we keep meeting on these podcasts. And Angel, I can't wait to connect with you. Where can individuals go to get the link? And what is the link? So I'll direct them over, and we'll make sure that we post that.
It's very easy. Go to assetsAreSexy.com. Assets, A-R-E, sexy, S-E-X-Y.com. And you can register right there. As I said, it's free. And is from 9, VIP start at 9:30. There's a VIP ticket available, but the main tickets are free. 9:30 to 6 o'clock tomorrow, and you can come and go as you please, but we have a power-packed day of incredible information. So get comfortable and get ready to take lots of notes.
Love it. I love it. Well, thank you so much. I love you. Love you, love you. It's just awesome to have our friendship and our families working together. Angel, it was great meeting you, and we'll take it away and hang out with me for the next minute.